Hey guys, what is going on? So today we're talking about something super cool. It's a very easy editing trick that will make your videos stand out that much more, and that is called a match cut. Alright, so let's dive into what a match cut is. So basically, a match cut is you're matching the motion of the camera move or whatever's going on in the scene to keep the action moving forward, even though you're crossing time, distance, place, whatever it may be. The whole idea behind this is that you're keeping things moving forward, so the viewer feels completely immersed in what it is that you're doing, and they don't break out of what it is that you're shooting. And even though you're changing everything around it, it feels fluid and it feels like it makes sense. So what do I mean by that? I mean you're matching either camera motion or motion in the shot. So for example, if your camera is moving forward, like dollying forward, and you're following someone, you can match cut right into following same person or a different person in a different scene, in a different setting. So maybe you're on top of a mountain, you match cut, you literally keep the person in the same area of the frame so that when it cuts, it feels like there's no transition. It doesn't feel like you switch shots. The person's walking and they're continually walking. I'm sure you've seen a lot of people use this kind of a editing trick in their videos, and it feels very fluid. It gives the video more energy because it keeps you going along with the video. So another way to play with this is maybe take like footsteps or hand motion, and you basically match the exact same motion. So if somebody's walking, I'm sure you've seen this on a Casey Neistat video where he's running across the screen and he's matching the background, constantly changing it from scene to scene, but he looks like he's staying the same. So basically how you do that is you get your shot, you put it on a tripod, you frame it up, and you do the same motion in all the different scenes. So the way you match it up is you might reframe a little bit in post, you might go in, tweak, but basically you want to cut so that the motion of the person is completely fluid no matter what it is what you're doing. And then when you put it all together, it looks almost seamless. And if you're changing clothes, if you're changing backgrounds, it doesn't matter because the motion is the same. It feels like you're watching the same shot just moving through time and space. Super cool, right? Another way to use a match cut, and I think this is a very cool method, is basically using camera motion to transition you to the next scene. So for example, if I was to whip the camera and I repeat that motion in the next scene, wherever it is that I want to be. So you could be on a beach and you whip across and now you're in the mountains. If you match the transition point during that whip pan, it will seem fluid and completely editless. And it'll just seem like you whipped into the next scene. And you can do this really well. So you can whip from scene to scene to scene. And it feels like you're on a journey with that person because you're whipping alongside them. So you're like, you turned your head quickly to the right, now you're in the next scene. It's pretty cool and it works really well. So the third way you can match a cut is using objects inside the scene. So this is really cool because this is like using, instead of whipping the camera, moving the camera in some way, or instead of matching actual action on the screen, like the footsteps, what you're doing is that as you're going through whatever shot it is that you're on, there might be an object that crosses frame, there might be a transition where you go from, inside to outside, and when you do that transition, you switch the shot. So for example, you falling into water in some way, but you pop out, you're in a different body of water. Now this is one of my favorite ways to transition because it throws your brain for a loop because you're going from scene to scene and it feels completely fluid. Like I'm jumping in one body of water, jumping out of another. I'm going behind a tree and all of a sudden I'm now somewhere completely different. It's really cool and it gives your video a ton of visual interest. It's super fun to watch. It's a great way to transition and it seems natural. There's a lot of transitions that people are using out there nowadays, like the zooms and all that, which are cool, but are starting to get overused in a lot of YouTube videos and whatnot. Once in a while, they're cool to use, but if you use too many fake transitions, so like Luma, zooms, things like that, it starts feeling unnatural and it starts feeling way overproduced. When you start using match cuts and elements in the shots, it feels natural and it feels more fluid when you're doing it. So guys, I encourage you to play around with match cuts, do some different things, take some motion in the shot, try to match that, match your camera movements, that's really fun to do, and then matching things in the scene that aren't necessarily the exact same thing. So I'm not talking about matching someone running, I'm talking about matching moving behind a tree, coming out, you're in the snow, somewhere completely different, you just came out from behind a rock, something like that. You're finding ways to transition that make everything fluid. All right, and one bonus tip, it's not necessarily a match cut, but what it is it's a match in story. You'll see this happen all the time, and now that I've explained it to you, you're gonna start recognizing it more. But basically what you're doing is you're moving the story along and transitioning through a different series of scenes. So for example, let me show you this. So the journey to the airport starts with leaving our hotel, passing the giant Godzilla, walking through Shinjuku, which involves a man with a unicycle and a cat on his shoulders. From there we get to the train station, we stop, we get a little cheese tart. We take a train to the airport, a high-speed bullet train. And then we arrive at the airport.
Now we're 12 and 13.
So what I did is I basically came up with a storyline, and then as I was going through Tokyo, I basically kept the story moving no matter where I'm at to keep the flow going. So the course of like 5 hours, I put into this little short segment that got you from the hotel to the train and everything in between, and you got a sense of everything. So that was a match in story. It's not necessarily a match cut, but it's the same kind of effect where you're naturally moving through a scene and it feels organic. All right guys, I hope these tools were helpful. Go out, use them in your videos. I wanna see what you guys do. So next time you put a video out that has some match cuts, shoot me a link. I'd love to check it out. I'd love to give you some feedback on it. Guys, make sure you subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about match cuts in the description below. Let's chat, let's have a conversation about it. Anything else you guys like using? Is there any other tools that you guys have used to do match cuts that have been very effective for you? Guys, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.